This is the POCO F7 Ultra. It is equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and it also has the lowest price tag compared to other options in the market right now, at least as far as I'm aware of. Does this POCO F7 Ultra live up to its hype, or is it just a smokescreen? Let's find out in today's in-depth review of the POCO F7 Ultra. Thanks for liking and subscribing, as that really helps us out a lot. Now, we will start off by talking about the performance, since it is the main highlight for this device. The POCO F7 Ultra is equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Elite as mentioned earlier, and by just playing games with its out-of-the-box settings, the POCO F7 Ultra can indeed push out some great frame rates. Genshin Impact ran nearly 60 FPS consistently throughout the entire gameplay with its highest graphical settings, though sometimes the frame rate does drop when we are in combat. No idea why, but I just find this to be extremely weird. It does, however, maintain 60 FPS in the Abyss, so at least I don't think this is a game-breaking issue. COD Warzone also ran great at the highest graphical settings, though it does consume a lot of power to maintain that high frame rate. I'm not sure if it's worth the power consumption, but it's a choice that you can make. If you are okay with just 60 FPS maximum, then you can hit into the settings menu and limit the frame rate there. Wuthering Waves can also run great at the highest graphical settings, above 50 FPS at all times. I mean, it's no surprise that Wuthering Waves can run better than Genshin Impact because it has FSR, and that could be why Wuthering Waves can run on lower end devices pretty well too. Zenless Zone Zero is the infamous frame rate destroyer, and the frame rate can dip below 30 FPS, yet the average FPS here isn't the best either. Again, it is no surprise since we only have one phone in particular that can handle Zenless Zone Zero well in this particular fight. But that is not all. The POCO F7 Ultra does have something called WildBoost 4.0 to unlock even more performance, which is what we have enabled in our original gaming test. But there are two more features that I want to highlight. And I have to give you guys a warning first. It will be mostly speculation here since POCO doesn't actually explain what this feature do. If anyone from POCO is watching this video and would like to explain them further in detail, then please do contact us. Firstly, the super resolution feature. By the name itself, it's like some sort of booster for your render resolution, but no, it's more like an upscaler, I think. It seems like the game is rendering at a lower render resolution, then upscaling it back to the original render resolution of 1920 by 863. From what I can see with my own two eyes, the image has a slight sharpening effect, and the lighting is also somewhat a bit different. It is extremely difficult to spot the difference though. And then comes the smart frame rate feature. We got some Q&A time with Angus, the head of product marketing of POCO, while we are at Singapore, and I did ask about this feature specifically, and the answer is that this smart frame rate is an in-house frame interpolation technique that bypasses the game's FPS limit. Since it is in-house, I guess POCO is not using Qualcomm's frame interpolation algorithm that is available in the Snapdragon 8 Elite. From our test though, the behavior is very weird. VTool Scene app that we use to determine the frame rate dropped from 60 FPS to 40 FPS, but the built-in frame rate monitoring tool in HyperOS's Game Turbo reports that it has jumped from 60 to 120 FPS. I can't really make sense of this because the math just doesn't check out. Then I kinda realized that it's basically limiting the frame rate to 40 FPS since scrolling through the destinations in Zenless Zone Zero is choppy with the smart frame rate enabled, but it goes back to super smooth when it is disabled. I tried it again with Genshin Impact, and yes, there are some parts that are extremely smooth when the frame rates are interpolated correctly, but there are certain parts that just becomes choppy, and that is when the interpolation doesn't work properly. This is especially true when we pan the camera back and forth really quickly. And in terms of power consumption, it only changes around 10 milliwatts average, so I don't think this is a significant change, and I do believe the power consumption impact here is negligible. As far as we are aware, the POCO F7 Ultra's super resolution works on quote-unquote all games from POCO and Xiaomi's App Store, and the smart frame rate works on all games. However, the popular games that we have tested, it doesn't seem to yield any significant difference at all. So now As it stands, I really do think that the super resolution feature don't really impact the gaming performance or experience much, but the smart frame rate does impact the experience as the frame rate kind of jumps up and down frequently. For me, I do recommend turning it off if you just want to hop into a game and have fun. Otherwise, you can experiment with these two features and see how it affects your experience. So if you want to know more about all of these tests, then watch our full test down in the description below. With that out of the way, now let's talk about the screen. This POCO F7 Ultra uses a 6.67-inch AMOLED screen with 3200 by 1440 pixels and also goes up to 120Hz refresh rate as usual. At most, the maximum auto brightness is just a little bit shy of 1000 nits. It's quite low but still good enough to be used under sunlight. As for the color accuracy, we do have a total of 3 different color profiles that we can select in the settings menu. The default original Color Pro color profile has a very low DCI-P3 color gamma coverage, so it kind of looks desaturated. Using the Vivid color profile drastically improves the vividness, and using it with the saturated color profile will push the vividness to near maximum. How's the battery life then? Well, it's actually quite bad. It only lasts about 14 hours and 22 minutes in our standardized battery life test at 1440p resolution. This is worrying because the Galaxy S25 Ultra, this one, with a smaller 5000 mAh battery, can last for another hour longer than this. The charging speed though is an interesting one. The POCO F7 Ultra comes with a proprietary 120W charger inside the box, at least for our region. Using the default settings, it takes around 43 minutes to charge from 15% to completion, though the temperature suddenly increased by a lot, somewhere near the 90% capacity mark. If we head into the settings and enable the fastest charging speed possible, it can charge even faster, from 15% to completion in less than 30 minutes. However, the temperature is at 43 degrees Celsius most of the time. But charging the POCO F7 Ultra with a 140 watts USB PD-PPS charger though, it can complete the charge from 15% to completion in about an hour too. And I think that is okay, but we do have to use the proprietary charger and cable to get the fastest charging speed possible. Oh, by the way, the POCO F7 Ultra also has wireless charging, so you can use that if you want to, though it is not that efficient, so I personally recommend you not to use wireless charging. Now let's take a look at the design of the POCO F7 Ultra. For this black color variant that we have here, it has a fancy matte design at the bottom here and also another glossy part at the top. Other than that, this phone has a pretty basic design, I would say. The camera bump is also quite small, so let's talk about it right now. Surprisingly, this phone has triple usable cameras, and it should be the norm for a phone of this level. But then again, this is a phone that is focused on performance, not the cameras. So how does the cameras perform then? Honestly, not bad. The main and telephoto cameras are amazing as the colors and clarities are good. Though sometimes the white balance is very off and the whole thing becomes blue, like these two shots here. Night mode is also quite okay, so no problems here at all. Oh, the telephoto camera can also become a macro camera and it can take amazing pictures like this. The ultra-wide angle camera is the one camera that I think is rather disappointing. The colors are very flat and the white balance is also different from the main and telephoto cameras, even if we're shooting the same scene. Though sometimes the ultra-wide angle camera takes better pictures compared to the main and telephoto cameras. By the way, there is a button called AI camera in the camera settings menu and I have zero idea what this actually does. It seems to change the contrast a little bit and that's it. And now for the software. It's using the version of HyperOS 2 as shown on the screen here, and it functions basically the same as what we have seen before. The Get Apps, POCO/Xiaomi's own app store, will push ads via the notifications. The overall UI is super flashy with a lot of animations and it's super smooth. We also have the dynamic wallpaper feature here that I like a lot, and there is also a bunch of AI features built in that are more or less the same as what other brands have been offering. However, I do think that HyperOS is the reason why the POCO F7 Ultra has such horrible battery life. And this is the exact same situation as the Xiaomi 15 Ultra 2. Okay, and here are a few more things to mention about the POCO F7 Ultra. It does have a USB 2.0 port at the bottom, and there is no display output via USB-C. We do have dual SIM card slots, and that's about it. The IR blaster has been moved to the back here where the camera bump is located, so if you want to use the remote control feature, you have to aim your appliances like this. And the POCO F7 Ultra is also rated for IP68, and that's great. Alright then, should you buy the POCO F7 Ultra then? Well, I'd say this is a great phone for those who want the latest chipset with the best performance at the lowest price possible. I mean, seriously, it is only priced at 2,999 ringgit, and that makes this the most affordable Snapdragon 8 Elite phone to date. You can, of course, also pick yourself up the iQOO 13 at a lower price, but the lower price iQOO 13s are using China firmware and the warranty is just up in the air. So if you want a phone with local warranty with the Snapdragon 8 Elite at the lowest price, then the POCO F7 Ultra is your choice. Just that the battery life sucks and the cameras aren't particularly consistent, but hey, it is still the lowest price phone with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. And that is all that we have to share with you here today. Do let us know what you think about the POCO F7 Ultra. Will you buy this phone or will you not? Let us know why and why not, and we will see you guys in the next video.